JJK Season 3 really does feel different compared to the seasons before it. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized that something big had changed that's gone unnoticed. A big part of the change is actually just a single number: 3 minutes and 36 seconds. That's how long it took for the season to introduce our first dialogue.
で、診断舞ちゃん。
今は当主の心配を。
For reference, Season 1 had its first words spoken in 2 seconds, and Season 2 gave us our first line in 6. And this isn't the only major change that we see. For story mediums like anime and manga, the visuals of the story are very closely linked to the plot. And that is why Season 3 is unlike any season before it. Season 3 is not just better art, it's intentional direction. And there are 3 main pillars of this intention that I believe have the biggest impact and truly give the latest installment of JJK a chance to become something much bigger than itself. Color, or lack thereof, is one of the easiest ways one can convey the mood of a situation. Color can be further broken down into 3 categories: saturation, color palette, and tone. Using this lens to look at Season 1, we see the frequent use of highly saturated colors, using a wide variety of colors to bring the scenes to life. The colors used also tend to lie on the warmer side, making the season feel less hostile, which is juxtaposed by the second season. Season 2 wanted us to know that things were not going in favor of our protagonist, and it conveyed that beautifully through restricting the tone and the color wheel to colder colors in the second half of the season. This effect was further intensified by muting the saturation of the colors during the second half to symbolize emotional exhaustion. And learning the effectiveness of both methods from prior seasons, Season 3 takes a hybrid approach to color. The use of a limited color range for a scene to visually reinforce a character is intentional, especially when accountability or importance is implied. At the same time, most background scenes this season have fewer simultaneous hues, oftentimes limiting them to only a couple of different color families. This means that even at higher color intensities, the scenes still feel dull and less vibrant, forcing the characters to carry the visual load. Now, complementary to color is the pillar of art style. The 2 aspects within this category that have seen a significant shift through the years of JJK are shadows and the prominence of line work. Following the light mood of Season 1's events, the characters are mostly drawn with softer shadows and a smoother look on their faces to represent the young and growing nature of our characters. Season 2's increased budget did not change the artistic direction, but it did expand the possibilities and quality of what could be executed on screen. This can especially be seen with the character shadows being much more defined than before. And in line with the theme of realism, the characters feel much more angular now with a greater amount of facial detail. This focuses our attention on the raw emotions felt by the characters and deepens the pain and grief that we feel watching our favorite characters break. Season 3 follows on that trend by keeping the angularity and the clinical details of the face, making them visually sharper, and the shadows, they grow heavier still, with the characters now seeing well-defined silhouettes both in stasis and in motion. The stronger presence and weight of the shadows in this season not only reinforce the solitary nature of the culling games, but also establish stronger narrative weight for the characters. And now we come full circle back to what started the video. Do you remember the number I mentioned before? 3 minutes and 36 seconds? Well, the reason I chose to highlight this was because it represents the season's core philosophy: show, don't tell. By removing the dialogue, our attention was focused on all of the things I mentioned above, giving us time to truly take in this new environment. We weren't told that Tokyo was in pandemonium via a direct narration, but we were led to this conclusion through pure visual direction. This is also seen with an underrated part of the cinematic process: aspect ratio. Where Season 1 was mostly shot using a 1.78:1 ratio, Season 2 relied on a wider cinematic 2.35:1 aspect ratio when it came to the season's key fights. The change of aspect ratios gave us, the viewers, a visual cue that something important was about to begin. Even if it may look like Season 3 overuses this wider aspect ratio, the use of these shots in non-action scenes actually helps the emotions in the scene hit that much harder, reinforcing the thematic idea of consequences. The latest season also does two things that feel very counterintuitive in our age of short attention spans. It firstly increases the shot length of seemingly unimportant parts, and secondly, it speeds up fights to the point where it becomes really difficult to follow them. For reference, most scenes in Season 1 were quick and snappy shots with easy to follow action. Season 2 did experiment with longer shot durations during key moments and used faster, choppier action scenes that gave the fights a more intense feel due to its faster cuts. This was very successful and it made the anime feel fluider than before. But this season elevates both aspects through careful choreography. The season very frequently uses very long shots combined with slow panning to keep our attention on the screen while the audio slowly builds tension off screen. These moments can seem to last an eternity, which is what helps burn them into our brains and make them more memorable. Secondly, the continual acceleration of fight scenes through an increased number of smear frames is also very intentional, as they want to show you just how fast these characters are and how hard it would be to keep up with them. And now is the perfect time for me to pause the video and thank you. Yes, you the viewer, right now, for watching the video so far. I appreciate all of you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Anyways, let's get back to it, shall we? Heavy analysis aside, I did have some other observations about the season which didn't neatly fit into the structure, so I'll just briefly talk about them here. Firstly, bro, the symbolism in the season is breathtaking. This opening scene of Yuji washing his bloodstained hands but failing is so superb. Secondly, some movement scenes are either cut harshly or are repeated. Maybe it's to save on the budget? It does feel a bit janky sometimes though, what do you guys think? Now there is this thing that I noticed, which is that some scenes have a unique feel to them because the background is actually made up of 3D models while the characters are 2D and hand-drawn on top. I'm sure they've done it before and I'm just dumb. The next thing is the fact that the season teams with creative freedom, as seen with sick anime-only moments like Naya running his hands through his hair while fighting Chozo. Number 5. And finally, Kogane. Yeah, they did him well. I'm really happy with him. He's cute. That about sums up everything that I think makes Season 3 the best season of JJK that we've had so far. So I hope that you can now appreciate the season that much more and understand just what makes JJK Season 3 so different. And if you want to see a cool sports matchup crossing two very different sports, or not so different, click here to see how I build the strongest volleyball team with basketball players. Until then, see you later!